corporate America is playing its own game, and you are a part of it, right? You not you, that star stuff, that element, but your productivity,
your skill set,
insights, your like, and still it is that, but it's like they have a very concerted mission that they are on, and if you do not have a concerted mission for yourself in terms of where this job, position, career, point fits into your larger goals, it's very easy to get wrapped up into whatever their goals are. And that's how we get burnout. That's how we get depression. That's how we get this experience of I'm working so hard, I'm doing all these things, but I don't feel fulfilled. Because you're inside of a situation where your essence is being used and extracted in service of their game, and you did not have anyone telling you or showing you how to play your own game within that.
Speaking of corporate, since you brought it up and I didn't, I would like to hear what you think, but how important is it for you to know, maintain, and kind of cultivate your identity, even inside of a corporate environment? And I'm asking you that way because I know, and you know, that the corporate environment as it stands today is not designed for what I'm saying right this minute. So it then becomes the responsibility of the individual to answer this question and to monitor and to maintain.
Immensely important. I want to share an anecdote here. So I worked right out of college. I was at it's a management consulting firm, one of the top consulting firms in the country, in the world, really. And so, bright eye and bushy tails, I went into that. Yep. I was super excited. Like, this is what I worked for my whole life, my whole young life. I had worked for this prestigious position. And what I learned there is it's so easy to just take on the identity of you are a consultant. A lot of times we would eat together, we would hang out after work together, we would go on retreats together, and then we're working together all day. And it's like, it was it kind of baffled me at the sheer volume to which people in that environment take on the identity of the environment, and that's it.
Because maintaining your identity inside of the space that is compromising to your identity, at some point the space is going to win.
In retrospect, especially understanding myself more, there was no way, I just didn't belong there. I just didn't belong there. And I think that's true for a lot of folks, especially people who have a natural inclination to creativity or entrepreneurship, or if you and I think truthfully, I think that's more people than not. But I think that, like you said, through this conditioning, through this it's slowly chipping away at that essence until there's just
the robotic program.
Yeah.
It's the program. Tell the people who you are.
All right. So my name is Success. My pronouns are they and he. I am a creative visionary. I'm an artist. I'm an entrepreneur. I run four businesses right now. One is a wellness company. One is my art company, digital marketing agency, and also a coaching business. I am someone who really values creativity, who really values, like you said, vision, big ideas. I'm obsessed with, since I learned that I do not fit in all of these boxes, I've tried all of them, none of them fit. I am obsessed with creating my own pool. I don't know. It's not a box, but I'm just obsessed with creating my life in a way that feels good to me, that feels exciting, that feels fun. And so that is what I'm up to. I feel like I love to make new things. I love to impact people positively. I'm really someone who values kindness and collaboration and community. I dress down. I'm a very artistic person. And yeah, I guess I feel like I'm not going to say it yet, but I'm also neurodivergent.
Let me just say, one of my favorite things in life was finding out that I was ADHD, literally, because both pieces explain everything so well. So instead of trying to piecemeal myself into people's things, I'm like, listen, and I'm so funny when I do it. Because also I think I'm hilarious, right? So I'm so funny when I do it. I'm like, listen, I'm autistic. I can't. This thing that you're trying to get me to discern and make sense of, I delivered it too abruptly, people, so that's always my disclaimer now. And that's kind of the way that I've chosen to approach it. And to be fair, I also think of it as part of my identity because it explains so much about the way other people would need to interact with me and the way that I will interact with them in the world. Do you think that that's a good way to define identity? How would you define it? like
Mm,
as a global term, because we're throwing it around the internet, identity. And even in the work that we do in coaching spaces, we're using the terms identity backed and like things like that. But what does identity even mean?
yeah. I think it's twofold. I think identity is the way that you relate to yourself first and foremost. Like how
Hmm.
would you like what and I think it's really like what are the things that you attach yourself to that describe you that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? That like basically make up the thing like the ways that you move in the world, right? Like I think
Hmm.
that defining that for yourself is first and foremost. I think that's why a lot of people who identify as like a man or a woman or like an educator, like these things that kind of like, and there are certain elements attached to what society tends to agree a man looks like, or a educator, there's a lot of things that are attached to like what's required of that. And I think that to the degree to which you kind of relate to, resonate with, and attach yourselves to those, labels and their kind of branch. I'm thinking of like a tree, like the
Hmm.
things that branch out from what it
Yeah.
means to be all these different things. To the degree to which you attach yourself and resonate with that is the first part. And then I think like you said, the second part is how do people relate to you? Like how
Right.
do people interact with you? What does that mean? What does that look like? And kind of that interaction between you and the world, and not just how it's kind of outwardly perceived, but also like interpersonal, like inside of interpersonal relationships, like what
Yeah.
is that interaction, like how does that affect the conversations you have, how does that affect the point of view that you share, so I think that
Yeah.
that to me is a good description of it. But I also think that identity is really complex. I think it's like as I think sometimes people have too much of a need to like over like define themselves, and like then that's what you are. But really, like we both know, identity is very fluid. It changes. Like I love this quote that Radaya, she was telling me about how that the identity that I am, you know I guess demonstrating or attached to, or like engaging with, changes depending on depending on what's happening. Like in certain situations, part of her identity, she might be more in her motherly role, or part of her identity, like depending on like if she's showing up for her kids in a certain way, or if we have an evoke situation going on, like maybe she's gonna attach him more to her like business owner CEO role. So I think it's like being able to like understand all the aspects of your identity, and then having that flexibility to one, change, evolve as needed for what you now want in your life, and two, situationally, like what is going to support you and your goals and be most effective to kind of step into, embody, like have it, basically having it lead the most.
Yeah.
And then one more, sorry, I have one more quote. I
No, it's
really like
fine.
this question. My mom's friend, Mama Couture, she's a Yoruba priestess. She believes, and I really resonate with this a lot. It's like we all have a community of selves, and I think that could also be taken to understand. Like we all also have a community of identities, and they're not all taking the front running position at all points, but they are all a part of us. And basically, I think when you are able to tap into that and give yourself the flexibility to move and maneuver between and through those community of selves, it just gives you a lot more access and freedom to move in the world in ways that you need to manifest whatever it is that you're trying to bring forward.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you're phrasing it this way because when I think of identity, because we obviously we obsess over this, that's why we're doing this series at all. So when I think about identity, I always think about like your created way of being. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
one way that you were created to be in this world. And now how that manifests itself externally is variable, all like
Yeah.
physically all the time. Like I was not born with tattoos and blue hair, but my best representation of myself has blue hair and tattoos. And so I have blue hair and tattoos, but that's not my identity. Those are
Mm-hmm.
things about me that make me feel more like me in the world, but those are not the things that define me. Even though
Right.
if you ask anybody here on this blessed island of Barbados, my name is Blue. period, full stop. So that in some ways, for some people, it does, but that's part of it, right? Like, so for some people,
Hmm.
those are identifiers, but that does not
Hmm.
make up my identity. There's
Right.
like an essence. Oh, I hate that word, but I can't get away from it right now. There's like an essence of human that is like a little, when I think about this, really, so just go with me, Success. Just go with me on this, okay?
Okay.
When I
I'm with
think
you.
about the essence of human, like the little Play-Doh, or you ever seen one of those weird sci-fi movies and the alien is just like a big gummy ball and they're just kind of flopping around. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I know
Hmm.
I'm strange. I told you my disclaimer in the beginning, so just go with me, okay?
Okay.
Telling you, I think that essence is like that. It is the blob of goo that gets to live inside of your body. Your body is just the house for what that identity, that essence actually is. And I don't
Hmm.
think that it changes. This is where I'm getting into the nitty-gritty. I don't think that your identity changes. Identifiers on the outside of you might change. Things might shift and you might grow and become more expansive in your permission to express your full identity. However,
Hmm.
comma, I truly think that it goes the other way. You ever met like a child and they're fearless, nothing, the completely reckless, abandoned, and then they say
Hmm.
something super smart, and you're like, how old are you? Like, how many
Right.
times
Yeah.
have you been here? You notice that instances of that stop as we get older?
Mm.
It's
Yep.
because of influence. The more
Mm.
influences that we get on our identity, the more we learn to shrink that identity until we have to then go recover it. So it starts to feel like we're growing and tapping into something else, but it's not really. We were born
Mm.
with it already. We're already just like
Mm.
it. The world comes with their opinions and their narratives and their suppositions, and some of your identifiers start leaking out, and people tell you, don't you dare go dye your hair blue. Don't you dare get a tattoo that people can see because you've got to go to
Mm.
corporate America because that's how you're going to become successful because that's how they identify your
Mm.
best identity, right?
Right.
And so then they're telling you all these things that you can and cannot do or be, and that causes shrinkage in that
Mm.
little gooey ball of thing. But then
Yeah.
when you get enlightened, hopefully through one of our signature coaching programs. But once you get enlightened, however you get enlightened, whether it's faith, whether it's coaching, whether it's an experience, whether it's near death, whether it's dying and coming back, whatever your enlightenment moment is, then you realize, oh, I do have all of this inside of me. But your inside doesn't get to be more. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like, it doesn't get to be
Yeah.
more. You're born that way. And the closest you are to your divinely created reason for being is when you are younger. And that's
Yeah.
why them kids,
Yep.
man, you gotta let them talk,
You
hear
do.
what they have to
Yes.
say. Speaking of which, don't you do work with children?
Well, not children just
Okay.
yet. I would
Praise
say
God.
young adults.
Well, what
I
could define an age of a young adult? Because I'm old, so I might still call them a child.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to think I'm unk, so I guess. But no,
Success, how old are you? Oh, wait, I'm
I
sorry.
am
Is that
26
cliche?
this year,
You'll
26
be
in July.
you be how old?
26 in July.
Child. You too. Children. Y'all hear this?
Well, I
The
won't ask
children.
you how old you are, but I will say
You
that
can ask. I do not mind. I am a very proud 43 going on 44. Praise God.
word.
Mother does a good job keeping it together here. Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I wouldn't have guessed that. Wow, man, black
It's
people.
the blue
But
hair.
yeah, I mean, I think it's also the skin, useful and
Oh,
useful energy, maybe a little bit of the ADHD. I don't know.
oh
I think
yeah.
we
I'm super interesting because I'm sporadic and all over the place. I'm super interesting.
that part. But yeah, no, I recently completed a pilot program. It's called the Pathways to Success Coaching Program, and it was for students at the Howard University Executive Leadership School of Business honors program. I know it's a mouthful, but that's actually the honors program that I graduated from when I was
Nice.
at Howard, and it was for a small group of graduating seniors, and the goal of the program was, given like and I feel like anyone who has it doesn't even have to be you graduated from college, but even if you graduated from high school or you really just changed from that environment of, okay, I'm in school, I'm doing this very structured thing, and then I'm going to go do something else, whether that be I'm going to go into a corporate job, I'm going to go into entrepreneurship, I'm going to go into a trade. Like, there is a shift that happens between when you're leaving an environment where people are telling you what to do and how to how to show up. Like, the expectations are very clear, and chosen for you, versus when you're moving into an environment where the environment itself might have its own expectations. But the key difference there is like I think really the difference is like the difference between you are getting graded, like you are there are very specific markers that you have to meet to reach the goal of getting your degree or getting your diploma. It's very different in the workforce. Like
Mm-hmm.
even and then of course, we have performance reviews, we have all these things, but the power really does shift from the institution, like because they're kind of holding on to this thing that you need. And the same thing, people still have the same dynamic when it comes to careers, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
that the level of freedom and lack of kind of very clear ordered steps that you're expected to follow is just completely different. And
Yep.
so the goal of the program was really to help them make that transition in a way that, one, that they know who they are, right? They are clear on their identity, not just their school identity or their surface level identity, but no, like at your essence, who are you? What matters to you? Like what's that goo star stuff that you were talking about? Getting more clear on that so that
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of serving as the foundation that you can then build upon. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
what happened to me and what maybe happens to a lot of students as they move from college specifically, it's like, okay, I spent all my life hustling and doing this and all these things, and then I get to this workforce and I don't know what the hell is going on.
Bless it.
All of my markers for success and for where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do have just disappeared. I don't know what I'm doing, where I'm going. And what I really want. And I think especially for the students that we were working with, a lot of them were going into corporate jobs. And one thing that I really wanted to express to them, because I went through this experience myself, corporate America is playing its own game, and you are a part of it, right? Like they are. Hey, I knew you was gonna love that one, right?
Say it again for the people in the back.
Corporate America is playing its own game, and you are a part of it, right? You not you, that star stuff, that element, but your productivity,
Your skill
your
set.
insights, your like, and it's still it is that, but it's like they have a very concerted mission that they are on, and if you do not have a concerted mission for yourself in terms of where this job, position, career, point fits into your larger goals, it's very easy to get wrapped up into whatever their goals are, and that's how we get burnout. That's how we get depression. That's how we get this experience of I'm working so hard, I'm doing all these things, but I don't feel fulfilled because you're inside of a situation where your essence is being used and extracted in service of their game, and you did not have anyone telling you or showing you how to play your own game within that. And so
Mm.
that's really what the program was about. I think they really got a lot of value out of being able to, one, just it kind of like flipped the switch for them, which I
Yep.
loved. And students are so receptive to it too. I think like they really took to the evoke process because it really didn't have a bunch of resistance of like, because I think sometimes when we work with older adults, it's like they have these set ways of being, and it's very like kind of
Be
hard.
easy on that word old here. Watch out now. All right, go ahead. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
I mean no disrespect, but what I
Just
do
that
think
I
is
just
like,
I'm just saying, just watch it.
you know, just the time though, just the amount of time that adults and older people tend to, even myself, as I say, I'm not old, but I'm older, and like the
Child.
more you get set in these ways of being and these patterns, it
For
becomes
sure.
harder to kind of pivot. And I
For sure.
think what I loved about working with students is that they didn't have any of that. They all kind of came to this as like, you know what, I don't know what's next, but I know that this is resonating with me. I don't know why, but I know that I want to learn more. I want to engage. And so that was really a really great experience for us. I'm really focusing on bringing this. Sorry for all the ums, but
It's
I
fine.
am really focusing on bringing this program to other schools and universities because I feel that. And what they've told me is that now that they're going into these environments, they have a clearer idea of what it is that they're up to, who they are, and how these systems and these structures can now actually be in service to them versus the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
No, I love that. You said a couple things that I want to like really in my corporate words, I want to circle back.
Okay,
Speaking
word.
of
Let's go back.
corporate, since you brought it up and I didn't, I would like to hear what you think. How important is it for you to, this is all one question, but how important is it for you to know, maintain, and kind of cultivate your identity even inside of a corporate environment? And I'm
Oh, I
I'm
love it.
asking you that way
Love
because
it.
I know and you know that the corporate environment as it stands today is not designed for what I'm saying right this minute. So it then
Hmm.
becomes the responsibility of the individual to
Hmm.
answer this question and to monitor and to maintain. And so even for people that are older and that have been in corporate longer, which by the way, in my experience coaching people, there is a 100%, if you have been in corporate America, there are certain mental barriers and boundaries that you just have
Hmm.
versus if you have never been in corporate America and you've
Hmm.
always had like some other type of either gig work or something that wasn't as like corporate, something hourly, those same mental barriers around what's possible for you or even understanding and embracing your own essence slash identity,
Hmm.
it's 100% difference.
Hmm.
There's zero capacity for people that have been in corporate and 100% capacity for people that have been, and it might take a while for the people that have been in other environments, but the people that have been in corporate, they're so busy recovering from what they've experienced at the hands of corporate America that they have, it takes years versus
Years.
months or
Years.
days for people
Yeah.
that haven't. So, with that data and stuff in mind, how important is it for you to acknowledge, maintain, cultivate, grow, harness, protect,
Hmm.
develop your identity, even in those corporate environments and spaces?
Immensely important. Immensely
Immensely.
important. I will. So I want to share an anecdote here. So I worked right out of college. I was at, it's a management consulting firm, one of the top consulting firms in the country, in the world, really. And so, bright eye and bushy tails. I went into that. I
Yep.
was super excited. Like, this is what I worked for my whole life, my whole young life. I had worked for this prestigious position. And what I
Mhm.
learned there is it was so easy. So many people, and I started following this myself, the sheer volume to which people in that environment take on the identity of the environment, and that's it. Not that, maybe that's not fair. That is the primary identity that is, like we talked about, leading. That is the primary identity that is leading yourself in terms of the way that you move, like everything. And I noticed even myself, because that's what was required to thrive or survive. But like the way that your life had to work around the job and everything else had to be secondary. I think that really did, cause an identity crisis for myself and maybe for some other folks as well. It's like it was so all encompassing, sheer hours that you weren't at work, time away from that environment, that it is so sticky, and so I think that, to me, the way that I was able to kind of get through, because I had a goal, like, once I kind of figured out, okay, this is not what I thought it was. I got, I had a goal around, like, okay, this is my exit plan. This is what I'm up to. I used to play with Legos at like 3 a.m. Just to get myself like mentally prepared to go into this
Mhm.
environment. I think that taught me, like, look, if I don't if I don't build my own, and I'm calling identity like a lifeboat, if I don't have my own lifeboat or my own like ways of being that I can protect against this all-encompassing tentacle like thing that is trying to consume me, it felt like, then I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And so I think that is immensely important for people to be able to develop, even if you do got to get up at 3, 6 in the morning to play with Legos, and just to make yourself feel alive and remember who you
Yeah.
are. That is so necessary. And I think that if you don't do that, it's really easy to get lost in the sauce, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
sauce to get lost in.
And I want to say, because what I hear you saying also, it's so many things, and I have something else that I want to get back to entirely, but it's important to maintain your sense of identity. And if where you are is compromising your sense of identity, that gooey essence, ethos, the thing that you were created to do, be, and say in the world, if it's
Mm-hmm.
compromising to that, then exit strategy. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
what I also heard you say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that I don't need to be here. So I'm going to maintain, but I have a pathway out of here
Right.
because I can't stay
Right.
here. Because maintaining your identity inside of the space that is compromising to your identity, at some point the space is going to win. Here's
You're on
the
the clock.
data. I say this a lot,
Yep.
Success, and I mean on this show we talk about this a lot. 80% of your life is what you spend on work. 80%. And I
Mm-hmm.
have data and numbers to prove it. Most people are working an 8-hour workday. Most people require either 2 hours before or 2 hours after work, and or 2 hours after work to be able to live, to decompress, to get ready, to get dressed, to mentally prepare, to commute, to whatever. And even if the commute is from your kitchen to your living room, it doesn't matter. If you have to go through mental gymnastics, like getting up 2 hours early to play Legos, just so you can go into this environment, that's time out of your actual life.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
sleep 5 to 8 hours a night. That does not count in your waking hours. So we're not counting that time. So of your waking hours that you could make choices in, you're spending 80% of your life on preparing for or recovering from work.
Yep.
That disproportionate amount of time is what makes work and where you spend your time so important. And there's no
Yep.
way, even if you spend an hour a day working on your identity and maintaining your identity, that if you keep subjecting yourself the rest of the 80% of time to an
Yeah.
environment that is designed to corrode that
Yep.
beauty and essence,
Yep.
that's going to win just by mathematical sheer volume.
Yep.
It's going to win from exposure. If you keep taking something shiny and dropping it into water, it won't rust the first time. But after the 50th time, that sucker's coming out. It's coming out rusty.
I
At
love
some
that.
point, it's
Yeah.
coming out rusty. So I
Yeah.
love that you're saying it's important, but I also love that you pair that with also get out. Like
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
costing you, get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Because like
Mhm.
even even I feel that even like in retrospect, especially with look like understanding myself more, there was no way, like I just didn't belong there.
No.
I just didn't belong there. And I think that's true for a lot of folks, especially people who have a natural inclination to like creativity or entrepreneurship or like if you and I think truthfully, I think that's more people than not.
Agreed.
But I think that, like you said, through this conditioning, through this, like, it's like slowly chipping away at that essence until there's just like,
The
just
robotic
been
program.
consumed. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the program. So you mentioned something earlier because I know ugh, I hate when I have to wrap things up, but you mentioned something earlier that I really wanted to get back to, and you brought up this idea of freedom. So it
Hmm.
prompted me to think about what does it look like for freedom and identity to meet, to interact, to need each other. How important is freedom and your sense of freedom to maintaining your sense of identity?
Mm. You can't be who you say you are if you don't feel free to be who you say you are. I think about, and I don't know, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say this.
Say it.
I'm gonna say it. There are certain places as a trans person that I have learned I just cannot go.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot go because the space does not, and that's not because I give myself freedom to be trans and to express myself, but I know just out of sheer, because then we're humans, right? And we're risk averse. We're trying to keep our flesh suit safe. Like there are certain, elements of environments that me as a trans person, I just can't go because
Mm-hmm.
there is no freedom for me to show up completely myself. And some people's answers to that is to camouflage, and I still do some of that, especially in like family environments or places that, okay, I love y'all, we're gonna do this time, and then I'm right. But
Coming
for the
back to
most
that.
part, yeah, for the most part, if there is an environment where I am not free because of the dominant, like, perception or ways of being, or like, I think about something like a cult. I don't know. I for like that just came to my mind. Like if there's an environment that doesn't allow for you to express the level of personal freedom that is required for who you are, to me that means you just can't go there. And so I think that in your question of like how important is freedom and identity, I think they go hand in hand. If you do not have, if you, so it's like it's part of it is the external, like certain spaces you literally right, but then also the internal. I still run into places where in spaces where I find myself stifling my own freedom to
Mm,
express, to be, to share, because of sometimes if it's unpopular, if it's like against the grain,
mhm,
if it
mhm.
requires you to have a level of courageousness that maybe you're just not feeling that day, then it really like it's two sides to the same coin. And so I think that that's extremely important to be able to express and share. If you do not have that internal level of freedom that you grant yourself, and then also being environments where an external level of freedom is experienced by the greater environment, because sometimes, like I said, in certain spaces where I said I can't go as a trans person, people are not free to necessarily be themselves in those spaces either,
Right.
right? Like that is just the dominant way of being. We're not out here being free. We out here being religious. we out here, we're being, a certain way that is required for whatever that space is up to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it really does go hand in hand. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
internal freedom is much more important, because even still, I've also had to give myself permission to say no to those spaces. I'm giving myself the freedom to say no, and you also have to, and that always starts with internally the level of freedom. And I think it just continues to evolve, as you said, as you expand, as you get more, educated on who you are, the levels of freedom that you grant yourself elevates. And I think that also means that some of the spaces that you could have been in, could have kind of fit yourself to be in, they just end up falling away.
Yeah. And so right. So let me give you a little auntie wisdom real quick since I'm older than
Work
you.
auntie wisdom.
A little
Okay.
auntie wisdom. Somebody called me. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay. My little auntie wisdom is by the time you hit 40, some of these things won't be things. And I'm only saying that as it regards to spaces where family is supposed to be able to love, care, and accept you however you show up, right? There have been times in my own life, and this is a total deviation from a bit of it because in my spidey sense, I just want to give this to you. There have been times in my life where I had to completely disregard my familial
Mm,
connections, all, and I don't mean some, I mean all of them. Okay. In my
mm,
very Caribbean sounding thing, all of them,
yeah.
because I knew that for that season of my life, I had to move this way in order for me to make sense to me. Because
Yeah.
my life is not just between me and me. My life is between me and God. So if I
Hmm.
got somebody to answer to, then I can't be moving based on you who I do not answer to. And
Right.
while I love, care, and appreciate all you've done to get me here, bless you. And
Hmm.
also, we now disagree and I get to choose.
Right. Right.
So that means, and this is what brings me back to the thing, quality of your choice and your ability to make a choice in the direction of your identity and your essence is living authentically and living out loud. Sometimes
Mm,
that means taking groups of people that we're assigned before we're born, because that's what our families are, and
yeah.
putting them to the side for now. They've done what
Right.
they could, given us all the trauma that they could muster. Now we have to process and deal with. Thank you so much, families of origin. We bless you and we thank you. There's a chapter for you in my book, okay? But we take their influence, good, bad, or otherwise, and we put it over here
Mm,
for now. Sometimes that means taking the people and putting them there also until they can come back around. So I use myself as an example. When I dyed my hair blue, when I quit my job, when I made certain dating decisions, when I got married, when I got divorced, when I changed business models 18 times to get to where I am, because I am neurodivergent, praise God. Well,
mm,
by the time I did all those things, can you imagine the number of people that agreed with me, disagreed with me? And
mm,
I'm talking about just from the time I was 26 to 43,
mm,
just from the time of where you are to now. So my
yeah.
point in giving you that is to say, whoever agrees or disagrees with you right now, give them time.
Mm,
Give them time, but you don't have to give them contact while you give them time. Give them grace, but you don't
definitely.
have to give them proximity while you give them grace. If that
Mm,
makes sense. They
I
can
love
have all
that.
the grace in the
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
appreciate them, but you don't have to pick them up and put them in your pocket. You can
No.
keep moving.
Yeah.
That's
No,
auntie.
that's
Okay.
helpful. That's really helpful. I think because
I'm
then
old.
that
Child.
that like that's exactly what we were talking about. Like more and more giving yourself more and more permission, more and more
Yeah.
freedom to literally say, okay, I'm not doing this right now. Like
Yep.
I can't. I just don't have the room for it in my life. And that I've seen that. That's kind of like, I think that if to me, it's also been a bit of that, because it's like there's a natural progression of, okay, I'm up to different things, certain people fall off, but then there's also this very intentional, choices that you can make around who are you keeping in your circle,
Mhm.
because I think that's also really important. Like if you're
Mhm.
if you're surrounded by people who can't see your vision, who are constantly questioning it, like, putting doubt or fear, like those are the things I do think you have to insulate yourself from, especially when you're in those phases of like, okay, we're building this, we're working through this, we're changing it 18 times. Like I can't, like I just don't have the room for these
Yep.
things that are not this.
And
Yeah.
you are what I would call specifically success, a visionary person, somebody who does have a million different ideas going on and a lot of different ways that you could show up in the world. And not everybody gets on that level. And because they
Mm,
can't get on that level, they automatically say they don't understand that. And once they don't understand,
mm,
they get scared of it because they don't understand it. And so once people are afraid, they behave like people who are
yeah.
afraid of things. So my thing for anybody that's listening to this, to your story, to and to you, it is to be strong and very courageous. Courage means picking up, doing the thing while carrying the fear, whatever the
Mm,
fear is. So in
yeah.
this case, it could be maintaining your freedom when you've been given the prescription of the box that is corporate, that is whatever, or compressing your identity so that you can fit into these spaces, or not getting a hand tattoo. This is a random story. This tattoo on my hand I don't even remember how many years ago, but that was my first hand tattoo. Okay. And that was my first visible tattoo. And I got it the day that I decided I was never going back to corporate. Because at that time, back then, it was you can't have any visible tattoos in corporate America. Like
I
that
do
just was
remember.
very frowned upon.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes you have to do things to maintain your own sense of freedom so that your identity does have space to live and breathe and to move. And it's just become a very important thing, I know, for me and I know for you. And I'm super grateful to have been able to talk to you about identity and where it fits in the world, and where it has fit for you in your story. It's been really, really enlightening.
I really respect what you're doing. I love that you invited me on this platform. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share and be with you today. And I feel like we know each other because we're just aligned. Like we're up to similar things, and we just both, have this insatiable need to just create and be free and help others to do the same.
Is there anything that you did not get to say?
I think I just want to say I haven't really spoke on this, but I have the opportunity now, and I think it's important for me to speak on this. There's a lot of negativity, hostility, fear mongering that's going on in relation to trans people. What I want to say about that, and I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and one of the queens said it really beautifully. It's like if you're scared of someone being themselves and just choosing to express that unapologetically, chances are you are not doing that for yourself, and that's why it scares you. So I invite all of the people out there and who probably ain't watching this, but if you somehow find your way here and you find yourself in this, echo chamber around like this negative rhetoric around trans people, like maybe take a second to reflect on why someone else choosing to be who they are bothers you so. I just would invite you to reflect on that.
Nope. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Nothing better than an honest internal expression of truth.